So we are in episode 4 of our podcast for the Fortune Collective. I feel like every podcast we have a different topic, and for podcast 4, we're really going to kind of focus the conversation on home ownership and really kind of focusing more on like the buyer side, what makes a good agent when working, with potential buyers. And so, I don't know, maybe we can go ahead and get started with our first question here. This first question is really kind of revolving around what advice would we give as realtors to any potential buyer, anyone even thinking about making that first purchase for their home. I don't know. I'll toss it to you, Bartholomew, to kind of kick off the conversation here.
This is a very important question. Thank you, Katie. It's a big step because it's a large financial decision and one that will impact from the day you decide to get pre-approved to the 30 years, if it's a 30-year mortgage, or 15, whatever that term looks like. The biggest thing that anybody can do is being prepared and knowing their numbers. If they already know what their monthly budgets are for general expenses, groceries, transportation, repairs, rent, that is a great start. Next steps would be talk very openly with a lender, because they will openly share what you can be pre-approved for, and at the same time you can also strategize how much, not only debt that you are comfortable with, but what your monthly payments will look like, and the consideration if you're thinking about more purchases in a couple years, a decade, whatever that plan looks like. I think it's important to just know what numbers you're working with. At the same time, have a trusted advisor that will openly share what the different things along the process are. Things starting off with the pre-approval, having consultations with the lender, if you want to talk to an escrow officer early on, insurance agents, because these are all people that will be part of your team collectively, forging collectively. And because of that, I think the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important part, because everything else after that becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, no, it's some really good advice, right? Like knowing your numbers, knowing what you're working with, right? So that way you kind of understand like what potential home can you go and comfortably afford, that you're comfortable with, right? As you go and kind of make that next steps. I don't know, Juan, how about you?
All right. So I just want to piggyback off of Bartholomew. So everything he basically said was ultimately true. You do need a good team behind you. You need somebody that's going to advise you throughout the whole process, because buying a home isn't like walking the park. At the end of the day, you need to know somebody that's going to has your back, somebody who's going to introduce you to to the other team members on your team, your lender, your escrow company, if you, escrow companies, insurance, title, anybody that you would want on your team. Your real estate agent can help you out. What I just would want to comment on, I think Bartholomew covered the majority of what any of us would give out as advice to our clients. I just want to touch on as an example as to what would happen if you didn't have somebody who has got your back. So for example, if you don't know your numbers, and you're just going in on a house and you don't know exactly what you can or can't afford, or what you're not comfortable with spending on a monthly basis, then that right away, the moment you put an offer in a house and say for you end up getting your offer accepted, and then you come to find out that the monthly payment is a lot higher than what you are comfortable with, you'd end up getting yourself into some trouble when you're wanting to pull out of a contract. So that's just one example that I can think of if you are not advised properly. That's what I got. Back to you, Katie.
Yeah, no, that's some good advice, Juan. I really think like as much as you can kind of work with your language lender, your mortgage company, right? And really figure out like beforehand, like exactly what you're signing up for. Like it's super important that you're comfortable with that number, right? And I think like even like for a lot of like folks who are thinking about that first purchase too, a misconception is that you have to put like 20% down. That's not true, right? I mean, if you're comfortable putting 10% down, do the math, whether or not the PMI with the insurance makes sense. Like it could, check your numbers, work with your professionals, right? And see whether or not you can secure that home, lower down payment, and, make sure you're comfortable with that financial decision. So no, I think these are all really great advice for you, and appreciate the transparency, guys.